Self-admitted, who uses a CPAP? David? Nobody else wants to admit, okay, that's the HIPAA violation. Oh, there you go. All right, so let me take you through this real quick because I got a number of things that I need to put out. So, you know, this guy's pretty happy, it's working for him, he's snoring, he's having a great time. But it's not so much working for her. And so, many times when I meet couples, I'll say, oh, I sell CPAPs to truckers or sell CPAPs, they go, and certainly the husband goes, oh, I don't have sleep apnea, and she goes like this. David, you know where that hole in your ribs is when that happens.
Yep. It's healed now.
Yeah. He's on CPAP. So, what is a CPAP? What does it do? What is sleep therapy? I work for Aeroflow, and I manage the division for sleep therapy. Sherry is my number 2. She's really my number 1. She's much smarter than I am, wildly confident, and behind every good person is a great Sherry. So I'm glad she's here today. Okay, you can keep going. And so there are a number of things. There's the lighter side of CPAPs. So there's more than one way than just a CPAP to fix sleep apnea. And so, you know, a taser, for instance, might be good. And of course, when you go to business meetings, you know, you're tired, you don't want to snore, so you may want to say, okay. So it works in many different ways. But there's a serious side to sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is where people literally, when they say obstructive sleep apnea, it's very simple. You have a tube that goes down and takes air in. When you go to sleep, your tongue relaxes and falls down and blocks that airway. So it's just like turning off an air tank to your body. It's that simple. It's not complex. Your tongue or fatty tissue just gets in the way and you stop breathing. So what does that do when you stop breathing all night? Well, you know, out in the world, there are 100,000 estimated motor vehicle accidents every year due to fatigue or obstructive sleep apnea or sleep breathing deficits and things like that. So 100,000 motor vehicle accidents. By the way, the biggest part of the division that we run is the trucking industry. You know, we don't want truckers to fall asleep on 18-wheelers. I'll give you some numbers of that, but that's a huge piece. Part of the DOT exam mandates that sleep apnea is part of that piece. We work on that. In terms of that, there's some 15,000 deaths each year due to sleep-deprived breathing, fatigue, things like that. And so it's huge and it's out there. And as you see railroad accidents, as you see bus accidents and all that, sleep apnea is now on the radar for what's out there. It's a huge, huge liability. And then there's some $60 billion each year in collision costs, all the accident costs that go in, so some $16 billion related to fatigue and sleep disordered breathing and obstructive sleep apnea. It is coming up on the radar very, very quickly. The plaintiff's attorneys have plugged into it, so they're going right for sleep apnea. Where they tested, this should have been tested, this and the other. But let me bring it back to you guys. So what is OSA? Here's a sort of clinical definition before I show you the real one. Obstructive sleep apnea is a medical condition characterized by sleep disordered breathing, which results in sleep attacks, daytime sleepiness, disrupted nighttime sleeping, and psychomotor deficits. Okay, that's sort of a clinical version. Let me give you just a really, really quick video on what it really, really looks like.
Apnea. What is really happening? When the airflow drops to below 50% of normal, this is known as an hypopnea. If you have STB, the amount of flow limitation you experience, with or without snoring, varies continuously during the night. As the muscles in the upper airway start to relax, the suction effect of each in breath tends to draw the soft tissues down towards the back of the airway. Over a series of breaths, the airway progressively narrows and the airflow decreases. There are times when airflow stops completely because the airway is blocked. This is known as an apnea. Air supply to the lungs is interrupted during an apnea. Our model shows obvious signs of an apnea event. The airflow trace changes to a horizontal line for the length of time that the apnea persists. This demonstrates that there is absolutely no airflow as our model struggles to get air through the collapsed airway. There is no noise at all, which is a particularly dramatic change if the apnea follows snoring. Our model has stopped breathing. An apnea can continue for 10 seconds or more, and in severe cases, for up to a minute or longer. During this time, the heart rate drops significantly. So does the level of oxygen in the blood, since no fresh air enters the lungs to replenish the depleting oxygen. The brain soon realizes that the body is struggling. That is why an apnea always triggers a strong arousal, with severe effects on the body. Our model gasps for air are causing sudden brain activity increases significantly. The heart rate after arousal is almost double what it was during the apnea. Our model's rapid breathing increases the airflow and the blood oxygen level begins to rise again. The tongue and soft palate quickly return to their normal position as the airway opens fully. The airflow curve returns to the normal bell shape. With every arousal, your body may move to another position in the bed, but you will probably not remember waking up, even if arousals occur hundreds of times each night. Your partner is likely to notice your apneas and arousals, maybe together with school him or her awake. Apnea arousal cycles produce significant stresses to your body. As you have seen, apneas cause depletion of oxygen supply to vital organs, including the brain. Arousals literally jolt the cardiovascular system. People with severe sleep-disordered breathing have poor quality of sleep. They may rarely experience the normal sequence of light and deep sleep stages which are necessary for healthy sleep. Generally, people who have SDB are often excessively sleepy during the day. They easily fall asleep at work, while driving a car, talking, reading, or watching television. Sleep deprivation can make them especially irritable. Research has shown that untreated SDB may also have other...
So I'm going to take you through it because I'm tight on time. So it's a lot of stuff happens. We say that the snoring is kind of the canary in the coal mine because what you hear is that airway closing down and then it stops. And some of you may hear your significant other partner stop breathing and then go through that. And that's when they literally quit breathing. And when you turn off the oxygen tank to your heart, it's got to work harder to get oxygen to feed your body. Your brain has got to stay awake. All sorts of things are beginning to happen. So let's talk about severity of it for a minute, just so I can show you. Mild OSA, remember these numbers, 5 to 14 is kind of moderate, mild. That means they wake up 5 to 14 times, or they go through an apnea of 10 seconds or more, 5 to 14 times an hour. Moderate is 15 to 30 times an hour. So if you have an IHI of 30, every 2 minutes, you're doing that. And if you have 30 or more, and we have some drivers who have 100 or more, every hour that stop, and they're driving our trucks, God help us, okay? In all seriousness. But even at 30, it isn't. But even at 30, that's every 2 minutes. If they're at 60, it's every minute that's happening. So it's real and it's out there, and that'll wear you out. You're literally working harder at night than you are during the day. We have David bumping our model here.
I had 75 an hour.
Yeah. So
It's a bad number.
yeah. So I'm done on time. So let me just meet Tony. This is Tony. He's a friend of ours, and I want to show you what a sleep apnea looks like on a real person. So Tony's now putting his apnea. He's breathing. Okay. He is now stopping breathing. He's not breathing. So his brain is okay right now. His oxygen levels are starting to drop. All those things you saw in the video. And he's just laying there. He's now 20 seconds in. So it's not a 10-second apnea. He's going even longer. You can see his chest begin to palpitate because his brain is trying to get his body to move and do something. But it isn't. So there's a point where the brain has to stay awake and stay alert and say, I need oxygen. So 34 seconds was that apnea. Now let's see how long he breathes for. 6, 7, 8, 9, So it wasn't really 10 seconds of delightful sleep. He got enough air, his brain woke up, and he did it. He's down, not breathing again. Sitting on the table, going to that. Imagine doing that 30, 40, 50 times an hour over 5 or 6. So you think you're sleeping well? No chance. You're working harder. And the things that it's doing to your body, I'll take you through in a second, it is amazing, right, David?
Right.
Okay, we'll get your testimonial after I get my 15 minutes, so in that time to do it that way. So it took 36, 37. You can see his chest beginning to sort of do this. His body's trying to tell him. 42 seconds. Thank you, Tony. Yeah. And he'll do it again. He does it all night long. So out of 93 seconds, 73 of those, there was no breathing. Do you think he's resting well?
No.
Do you think he's going to get in the truck and drive very well? Do you think you'll work well in your business and what you do? Do you think there are consequences to not breathing like that? It's not just snoring. That is a canary in the coal mine. So what does it do to you? What are the things that can happen? Obviously, it hits your heart because that's the whole oxygen system into your brain. But here's the things that can kind of happen. Brain fog. You're working so hard at night, you know, in the industrial construction world, you're going to have mistakes. Things can happen. Fatigue is there. Just think of the risk that we put people in crafts, construction, and welding, pneumatics, manufacturing, printing operations where they slice of things and things like that. So brain fog kind of tends to happen. By the way, I had when I started with Aeroflow, I didn't have sleep apnea, but I wanted to take the test. I ended up having a severe, moderate, severe. I had a 30. Every 2 minutes I was waking up. I got on CPAP, man, I feel like I'm 20. So it feels great. I feel wonderful. I wake up every morning. Again, David will also say that, but I feel great. All right. And now I'm doing CrossFit and all kind of weird stuff. So things that can happen when you turn off oxygen to your brain and your blood. The heart's got to work harder. So brain fog, a stroke. Cardiologists all the time. First, when you walk in and you have a heart issue, the first thing they do a lot of times is put you on a sleep test. Because if you turn it off oxygen to your heart, it starts a whole bunch of stuff going on. So lots of big business there. Anxiety. You're not sleeping at night, you're going to be grumpy. You know, things are going to happen. Everything's going to magnify because, again, depending, even if you're having 30 AHI or 30 apneas a night, it's not good. Depression. You know, wears you out. It's hard to get on top of life if you can't get there. Low blood oxygen level. You know, your heart is the thing that oxygenates you and then puts it through your body. Well, you saw it at 93 seconds that 70 of them weren't getting any oxygen. So your heart is just pounding away. Welcome to stroke and everything else. Arrhythmias. Your heart is working so hard that it begins arrhythmias and things like that can happen to you. Obesity. You know, you don't get oxygen. It messes up all kinds of balance in your system. So you want to eat more. You're craving more. You're awake. You're hungry. All sorts of things happen. So obesity, high blood pressure, obviously, when your heart's sitting there beating that hard, and then congestive heart failure. Again, you turn off if you sat there and covered your mouth, or if we did waterboarding on you, for 30 seconds at a time, it'd wear you out, and you have a problem. Type 2 diabetes, huge. Insulin goes all over the place in terms of natural production. Okay, 3 minutes? Okay, so I'm going to run through it, and of course, for the men, there are other problems that can happen. So, and that is true. I know it's what we're told. And so, and then more things are coming. Kidney disease is coming. So I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Symptoms, irritability, forgetfulness, depression, morning headaches, mood behavior, changes, everything else. I'm going to go past this. These are sort of the tests of what you can do if you're a male over 50, you have a BMI of 35, and a neck of 16 inches, you are a candidate to be tested. It's a growing problem. 42 million Americans estimated to suffer from sleep apnea. 80% of them are still undiagnosed. There's a great market here for sleep apnea. A lot of people are walking around having no clue. They just think they're snoring. Sleep apnea affects about 6-12% of the overall male population. 28% of drivers, or 3 to 4 million, are thought to have OSA, so that's our commercial drivers. 1 out of every 3 OTR drivers is suspected of having OSA. And driving with high OSA and not getting it treated is like having a blood alcohol level of 0.6 to 0.8. But the real issue is right there. If you have grandchildren, if you want grandchildren, if you want to be around for grandchildren, I call a sleep apnea treatment as the best preventative medicine ever. If you don't have type 2 diabetes, if you don't have those things and you have sleep apnea, find it out. If you have it, treat it. It'll keep all kinds of stuff off the table for you down the way. Our trucking clients, what we're finding is that we have a population that's 2 years before they were diagnosed, 2 years after. The studies say there's an average of $6,000 because it's all chronic diseases, diabetes, all that stuff is all chronic, blood pressure, everything. So if you find that you have sleep apnea and you treat it now, you can help avoid all those things. But number two, the chronic costs to deal with that is huge in terms of just cost alone. But I want him to go home to his wife and his kids for a long time. And even if you're like in electrical and HVAC and things like that, it's great to have those workers tested and screened. So here's the hook. So we're breaking out into retail. I've brought it up a couple of times. So you can now get a test for $149. Some people in this room went to a sleep lab and they put 25 connectors on you, they put you in a creepy cold lab and they watch you all night long. Well, this is now a sleep test. It's 3 parts to it. You strap this little piece in a belt, then glue it because you don't want to pull that off that earth. But it's a little belt that goes around your chest, a little nasal cannula that records your breathing, and a finger probe that looks at your oxygen. That's all we need to know to diagnose OSA and you get a full report. And it's not like something where you guess it or you try it or whatever. It is a medical clinical test that gives you the number. So that's how you wear it. You go to sleep one night, we mail it to you or we bring it to you, and then you bring it back and you know. So for $149, don't you want to know if you can get 23andMe for $89 to get your DNA? Don't you really want, if you look out for your family and want to be out there, don't you want to spend $149 and get that and know? If you don't, aha, way to go. If you do have it, then you know, you get CPAP, treated right away, and feel great. So that's me, and that's the offer, so I'll leave the number up. And I think that's it. David, did you want to make any statement?
Well, I will say, when I turned 40, I thought, life is good, and I went for a little rash in my arm to the doctor, and I ended up with found out I had high blood pressure. Then the first thing the doctor sent me for was a stress test and a sleep apnea test. And that sleep apnea test at the hospital was about $3,000, so much more expensive than that. And come to find out, I had a pretty severe case of it, and when I would literally wake up in the morning, I was as tired as when I went to bed. And a lot of people, they feel that way, and my doctor even said it's one of the most underdiagnosed conditions in the country, and it causes all these health issues. And so for me, if I go out of town, that thing goes with me. It goes everywhere I go, just for the fact that I feel so much better. A lot like you, Michael, I do feel so much better, and that was 4 years ago. So I couldn't imagine by the time I was 50 how I would have felt if I had not had it. So it's made a complete difference in my life.
So what's it worth to know? Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
What's it worth to know for $150?
I have a question real quick,
Yes.
please. So I get night terrors. Now that to me isn't any of that in there. I just snore. And I'm told my cousin, I wake up when my husband's in the other room. But, so does that have anything to do with it? My
What,
night
Sherry?
terrors? Huh?
I don't know that night terrors. If you breathe better and your brain's in a better spot,
Maybe I won't have those.
maybe so. I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on.
No, I'm just curious. I'm just curious
But,
if that was.
just me.
If you are diagnosed with this, does insurance recognize it and pay for it?
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
Yep. And we handle all of it. Yes, ma'am.
What does the CPAP machine do?
It literally blows enough air gently through to your airway to keep it open. So it's literally a blower in your air. It's like not having oxygen, but with oxygen in. It's just room air. It blows through and keeps you ventilated and doesn't feel bad at all.
And they are not sexy either. It's a thing that goes over you. You can get different ones, but they're as ugly as they can
David
be.
has an
So
older one. There are new cool. It's not loud. It's not a turn on. It's not a turn on.
no, not at all.
Although our have gets to create people in life.
Good job, Mike.